Greetings, this is Stan for the Jesus Entrepreneur Experience radio program. And today I thought, just for a change, I would put this production in front of also the video camera and simply pass it on to you, so you not only have to hear me, you may have to even endure seeing me. But I think that might be important right now. We took last day off, Sunday night meeting. I had one, but boy, it just seemed to me that the Lord said, just be quiet, be still. There's so much going on in the world. Just let me speak to people, not you. And so that's what I did. But here we are, Monday meets the marketplace, and I wanted to share a couple things with you that I thought might be helpful to you, and I would certainly like you to tell me more about how it could be helpful and useful to you. Because that's what I want this program and the Christian Entrepreneur Network to be. Something that's profoundly useful to you as you seek to make your mark, to build your business, to expand your brand, to grow your territory, your good influence, to be able to do good for your family, to do good for your community, your church, good for the common people, and much more to the glory of God. So that's what it's all about. And here we go today. I've asked you a couple questions just recently. And the first one is one of my favorite questions, and I oftentimes ask it to those who I know are Christian in their life and business. And it comes from that very famous film, Chariots of Fire, of many years ago. It's a story of Eric Liddell. And my own personal story somewhat intersects with his legacy story. And I told that on the radio program some time ago. But he was the one that was featured in that famous film. And you may recall that he was fast. He was really good. He was running. He was racing. And eventually the story was about him competing in the 1924 Olympics for Great Britain. And he refused to run the first race because it was on Sunday, and he would not run on Sunday. And of course, people did not understand that. But part of the story was a very wonderful incident when his sister Jenny, and remember, Eric and Jenny, they had grown up as missionary children in China, and they were all hoping to go back after their schooling. And she confronted him and said that she was afraid that his running was taking all of his time, and she was afraid that that would lead him away from going back to the mission field in China. And he made that wonderful statement. He says, "Jenny, don't you know God made me fast? And when I run, I feel His pleasure. When I run, I feel His pleasure." And my question is, when do you feel God's pleasure? What are you doing when you really feel God's pleasure? Have you ever had that experience? If you have, what were you doing? What were you about when for some reason it just seemed that there was an extraordinary sense of pleasure that came from God in the work or the business or the activity you were involved in? When do you feel God's pleasure? When is it most intense and more real to you? The second question just recently came to me from a silly ad in an email letter sender. And as you press the button to send your message, the MailChimp guy pops up and says, "Your moment of glory is at hand," as if sending an email is your moment of glory. It's cute, but it led to a very good question. What might be your true moment of glory? In sense of you're called to God, you're called to your community, you're called to use your giftedness, your strengths. What might be, if you had a chance to do something that you could really feel glory about? This would be your moment of glory if you could achieve this, or you could do this, or you could become this. What would be your moment of glory? Just thought I would ask. Now, the reason I'm doing this is, first of all, this will help you have some real self-exploration, and it will also help you in your self-expression, in sharing your story and in becoming interesting and passionately connected to things, to have a certain spiritual growth and intensity that can move you out, mobilize you, and perhaps even make you attractive to people. As I oftentimes say from the story of Jesus, I love it, where after he had produced his call in front of his family and friends, and they were upset, and it seems they were about ready to throw him off the cliff. And in one scripture quotation it says, he walked right through them. He just walked right through them. The world may step aside for the man or woman who knows who they are, where they're going, what God has called them to do, and they're doing it. Maybe the world will step aside for those kind of people who are that passionate and that kind of purpose-filled. So, where are you? What are you doing when you feel God's pleasure? What might be your moment of glory? And then something else which has always struck me, and that's the question for today, that will not only help you in your own self-discovery and your self-exploration, but like I said, making you more interesting. And it's also a way for you to ask questions and discover more about your colleagues, your clients, your customers, those people who are in your center of influence in your life and business and church and community. And it comes from Frederick Buechner, a favorite writer of mine. I love his kind of odd style. And he put it this way: we have a vocation. And here's what it is. Where does your deep gladness and the world's deep hunger, where do they meet? And that expression, where is your deep gladness? What is your deep gladness? That's an expression I'm trying to work. I've been working on it for some time, and it has led me, I think, in many different directions, but I think it's leading me to a focused direction. And more I'm discovering that when I get off and do other interesting things and somehow lose my way from what really God has called me to do with deep gladness, it doesn't go as well as it should. On the other hand, I feel deeply sorry for so many people who, when they hear that expression, deep gladness, they say, I really don't know what that is. I don't know what it would be. And then more often than not, I hear people say is, but what I'm doing really isn't it. It's a good job. I like my job. It's okay, but there's nothing that's deep gladness about what I'm doing. It's just kind of a job. It pays the bills. It's a good enough career. If I keep doing it long enough, I guess that's okay. So my question again is, just take some time, because I think it could be very helpful as we are in now the Jewish tradition of Rosh Hashanah, the New Year, began on Sunday, and it goes for 10 days. And the holiest day of the Jewish calendar is then 10 days after the New Year is Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. Now, during these days, it's called the 10 days of awe. And as I oftentimes say, this is where you'd like something awesome to come to you, to happen to you. Something in your life or your business that this is not just a New Year thing. This is awesome. And so my expression today on this Monday, as we are in the first day of the week of the days of awe, maybe you want to give some thought to just that. Where am I when I feel God's pleasure? What would be my moment of glory? What would that be? And my deep gladness. And then he continues by saying, it's where your deep gladness and the world's deep hunger meet. Your deep gladness and the world's deep hunger meet. I honestly believe if we could have a large cadre of Christian entrepreneurs and Jesus followers and Jesus experienced people who are living out of their deep gladness and going in and meeting the world's deep hunger, that would not only be faith that works, I think it truly is what Jesus is talking about when he creates this little company of believers, where I call, start with 1, 3, 12, 70, 120, 3,000. It is those kind of people full of deep gladness, meeting the world's deep hunger, feeling his pleasure, sharing in his glory, able to handle all that comes because he said, you will have troubles. You will indeed. Those will be the kind of people who truly change our world. I've discovered that more and more the early Christians were really not into theology very much. Actually, Christian theology and belief came much later in our experience. The early ones, the beginning ones, were primarily involved in the experience of Jesus, of trying to share that experience and living out in their lives and in their behavior the experience they had had that came from Jesus and his Spirit. Beliefs and theology and all of that good academic and theological stuff came later. But what made it go was just that. It was the one, behold the man, who came and shared his story, performed miracles that were awesome, and then showed us how to die and showed us how to live and showed us the reality of resurrection, even in a daily way and in an eternal way, and then said, go and do and go and teach. Go and do, go and teach. That's my thought for this first day of awe, for this Monday in Rosh Hashanah to Yom Kippur, and for you and I as we are seeking to find our way. All the best and blessings to you. I'd love to hear from you. TCENglobal.org, TCENglobal.org/contribute. We would love to have you be a part of us, and if you can help us and contribute to our work and mission, I would be profoundly grateful. If you'd like to reach out because you now have a chance to be on our radio program, it's going and growing, and we are looking seriously for people who want to use the broadcast systems, the internet radio, the YouTube channels, the variety of ways that we can now reach out to people all over the world, and you have a story to tell, a song to sing, and something to share that can make you a person of influence, and a person of influence for good, that you can also find your deep gladness, share your moment of glory, and describe for people what it is that helps you feel his pleasure. All the best and blessings. Take care. We'll be back. Bye for now.